So on Prosper's website right there, and I'm going to put the link to that in the chat shortly, you can see that there's a financial literacy toolkit here. And if you scroll down a bit, you can see all of these different topics, which are ones that we're going to be covering today and in our next webinar as well. And if maybe something that you hear today you want to learn a bit more about, you can click on, say, the income section. And then if you clicked on there, the government benefits handout, you can see that there's more information about what we're going to be talking about. So I just wanted to point that to your attention before we started. Now I'll go back to our slides. Okay, so starting off with exploring your relationship with money as well as goals, a good place to start when it comes to financial literacy is reflecting on our own beliefs about money and connecting that to how we've been managing our money as well. So we receive a lot of different messages about money, and it might come from our family or from our friends or from the media, and this influences how we deal with money, these messages as well as our own experiences. So with these messages, you can choose to either embrace them if they are helpful to you, and they have been helping, but some of them might not be as helpful, and it's good to let go of the ones that might be limiting us. So it's just a good place to start off and kind of reflecting. So then another important step to take when looking to financial literacy is to have goals. And there's a helpful acronym to use, which is SMART goals. And this is going to help build confidence so that you can take control of your money better. So when you're thinking about goals and you're looking at SMART goals, the first of the acronym is S, which is specific. So it's helpful to make your goal as specific as possible because that's going to help you know exactly what you're working towards and what you're striving towards. So then next is achievable, which means something that is within your power to achieve, something that you know you can achieve eventually. And then the next, which is related, is that it's realistic, making sure that it isn't unrealistic for you and for your situation, because that can end up being really frustrating. And then lastly, that it's time bound. So setting an actual deadline. Maybe you have some shorter term goals, maybe you have some longer term goals, but having a deadline set will be really helpful for you. So then just looking to some steps that you can take in terms of goal setting. First, as we just did, defining your SMART goal, going through all of those different factors. Next, outlining steps towards your goal. It might be a longer term goal and maybe you want to have steps to achieve it. It'll help with motivation if you can kind of parse apart little tangible steps that you can take that will eventually get you to your longer term goal. And then looking to challenges and thinking of strategies to dealing with them. There's always going to be some roadblocks that might get that might get in the way of your goal, and thinking about them ahead of time to be able to come up with strategies for them will be really helpful. And then lastly, setting deadlines. So even those steps that you outlined before, having deadlines for each step, and then having an ultimate deadline in the end as well. So before I hand that over to Henry to go over income and taxes, are there any questions about the slide that I just went over? If not, I'll hand it over to Henry to go over the next part.
Oh, hi everyone. This is Henry speaking, and I'll be taking you through this slide for income and taxes, and I hope everybody can see my screen. Income is the money that we have to manage. It comes from different sources. Most of us would be employment income. However, we have people running their small businesses, and any income derived from that business would be taxable income. We could also have government benefits, which would be taxable as well. So all that encompasses the income that we have to report and pay tax on. So usually we do this on an annual basis. The tax year for the government to report tax is 1st to 31st of December. And we have some deadlines that we are going to see on the next slide. So I just briefly talked about the employment and also touched about the government benefits. So we have a wide range of federal and provincial government supports and benefits. And we have many rules regarding these benefits that you might take advantage of so that you can boost your income depending on your individual and family situation. So for more information, if you need specific information about yourself, you can get in touch with us. Lisa will be sharing her email address. And also I will mention at this point that we also at the clinic help to do the taxes on a year-round basis. So if you didn't file your taxes for this year or the previous, this year that would mean 2020 or previous years as well, we can help you do that and get in touch with Lisa and we can take it up from there. So just a quick introduction to taxes. We have to pay taxes on most of your income, if not all of it. And both the federal and provincial government collect income tax. And the tax system that we have here in Canada is a progressive tax system, meaning pay as you earn, and the more you earn, the more you pay. So, and that's why it's important to file taxes. We have various reasons. It is very important to file taxes so that if you don't file taxes, for instance, it's a requirement by law and the government may charge you taxes on the back taxes or taxes that you owe. On the other hand, the government may owe you money on the taxes that you have already paid on your income, mostly on the employment income, and you might be able to claw back some of these taxes when you file your taxes. And then lastly, and not least, there could be the government benefits, as I talked before, that you are entitled to. And if you don't file your taxes, then you may not be able to take advantage of these benefits, which will obviously boost your income. So this module is not to show you exactly how to do your taxes, but just to give you general information so that you can understand the process of doing the taxes and why it is important to file your taxes. And in terms of filing the taxes, then we shall help you on an individual basis to file your taxes and make sure you're current with your tax returns. So in this slide, I'll let you know about what you need to do in terms of the deadlines. If you are self-employed, for instance, you have up to 30th of April to file your taxes of the following year. And you can do so by doing your taxes, either manual tax return, or you can file it online. And even if you don't pay the taxes, you have to pay it on the 1st of May so that you avoid paying penalties. So if you pay late, there are penalties that accrue. There could be interest as well on the taxes that you owe. So for you, if you are self-employed, you need to have your T4s, which the employer provides to you. You may also, if you get government benefits, the government will also give you T4 slips, T4A slips, which will give you a summary of what the government gave you as benefits so that you can declare it on your tax return. So if you're self-employed, you may not have a T4, but you can deduct your business expenses from your own income. And for you to do that, you need to keep proper records of your business, keep a good track of all your expenses and all your income, all your revenues, so that you can properly file your taxes. And if you're self-employed, you need up to 15th of June. So you have a little bit more leeway there in terms of deadline to fill out your income tax. But then you have to pay your taxes by the 30th, just like everybody else. We have some resources available online, especially on the Canada Revenue website. The link is down here. If you need more specific information about your situation, you can always get information there. And that will give you kind of a broad overview of what you need to file your taxes.
Henry, can you show the other slides? You were sort of hovering just on the one slide.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hope you can see my slide now. On slide 8, filing your taxes continued. So after you file your taxes, the government will send you a notice of assessment. And it's basically a summary of what the government assessed on your taxes. If you have some tax that you are owing, it will show the notice of assessment. If you paid some taxes, then of course that information will be there on the notice of assessment. And this is a very important document for you to keep as a proof that you did your taxes for that particular year. So the notice of assessment will give you a lot of tax information that you might need, even give you your RSP for those who do retirement benefits. We'll see that slide in the next presentation. You'll also see your TFSA contribution limits as well. So one way to estimate how much you will have to pay is to look at the tax rate based on your income, and this is referred to as a tax bracket. So most of us, we don't have to compute because we have the system doing the computation for us. But what actually goes behind the scenes is the system picks your income and calculate the taxes based on what level of income you have. As I said before, the more you earn, the more taxes you pay. So it's a progressive income, progressive tax system. And if you need to see the tax bracket for this year and the previous year, you can always see this on this link here. It's there on the Canada Revenue website. So unless there's any question for the taxes, I will let us proceed with the budgeting slide. Any question for taxes? All right, thank you, everybody. And if you have a tax situation, feel free to get in touch with us through Lisa. She'll share her emails, and we will be glad to help you file your taxes for the last year and any back taxes that you did not file. Thank you. Over to you, Lisa.
Okay, so the next slide is budgeting, and I believe Lavinia will be speaking on that.
Okay, hi, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry. Hang on, let me just, okay, I'm unmuted, great. Okay. So budgeting. So budgeting is a way to make your own rules about your money. Rules that fit your life and will work for you. So your budget may not work for someone else, but it has to work for you. So a budget will help you get control of your money, and that will help you get control of your life. For your budget to work for you, you have to be realistic about it. You shouldn't have a budget based on wishful thinking. Like, for example, saying you are going to stop buying snacks to save money. I know I couldn't do that. I could not not have chips. So if I tried to discipline myself like that, I would just cheat, buy chips, feel guilty, throw up my hands and say, well, I just can't do a budget, and console myself with a family-sized bag of chips. So be realistic and honest with yourself when you make your budget. Your budget should have some goals. So for example, saving some money for something, that could be a goal, or paying off a debt or a portion of several debts. Again, be realistic when you set your goals. So a budget keeps track of your money and is a summary of your income. Income is money coming in, and expenses, which is money going out, over a certain period of time, like a month or 6 months or a year. There are two kinds of expenses: fixed expenses and variable expenses. So fixed expenses are costs you pay each month that stay the same, like your rent, your internet, your daycare. Variable expenses are the costs that change from month to month, like food, clothing, gifts. There are seasonal variations, like for school supplies in the fall or Christmas shopping. So fixed and variable expenses. Expenses are the money going out. Income is the money coming in. The idea is to achieve a balance in your budget between income and expenses. If you don't achieve a balance in the sense of having more expenses than your income can cover, then you're out of balance, you will have debt. That's not necessarily a failing. Most of us have debt, and it is sometimes unavoidable. You just have to then budget for that debt in your future budget. But still have a budget. So the way to balance a budget is to either increase income, we wish, or decrease expenses, more realistic. There are some expenses that you can't decrease, like rent, but there are some that might give you a little wiggle room. And one way to find that wiggle room is to differentiate between needs and wants, which is something Catherine will talk about shortly. However, one strategy for saving money is building saving right into your budget as a fixed amount. It's like you're adding it as a fixed expense every month, right? Saving. So how do you actually make a budget? Well, you could do it old school with paper and pencil and write down your income and all your expenses and see what it looks like when you add up the expenses. Are your expenses within your income? Or you could go online and find an online tool. And I'm going to show you one that is a free budget planning tool from the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, FCAC. Catherine, could you please put up that planning tool on the screen? And if you can't, and if you want the link to this and can't find it by Googling, just email us and we can send you the link. Okay, so there it is. You hit start my budget, right? And it takes you through it, and and it's kind of self-explanatory. Like what it does, like what every budget does, is it adds up your it asks you some questions at the beginning. You can see like how many kids that you have kids, what's your life situation, your work status, stuff like that. And then once it has that information, it asks you questions like what's your income, you put that in, what are your expenses, and little drop-down menus where you can have different kinds of expenses like housing expenses, car expenses, stuff like that. And then at the end, it does the math for you and it adds it all up. And once it does that, then you get, you get to see what your budget looks like. And so it's not too complicated, and it's not necessarily for everyone, but have a look at it. It's not a bad tool. But you don't have to use this particular tool. Like maybe you don't want to use a computer at all. And so there are other ways of doing this. Some people use envelopes or jars, right? If worksheets don't work for you, there are many other creative ways to budget. You can figure out how much of your budget is for fixed and variable spending, set the fixed money aside to pay those costs, and divide the variable spending amounts using labeled envelopes or jars to store the money you need for each category, right? It's really visual. You spend from the envelope or jar. When the money is gone, you stop spending. A calendar can be a good way to keep track of money coming in and out. So write down dates you get paid, due dates and amounts for bills, as well as weekly expenses such as groceries or entertainment. But I suggest that you just pick a method and give it a try. Any method. Give it a try, just a dry run. Because just by doing that, just taking that step, it'll get your brain thinking about budgeting. So bring you a little closer to achieving control over your money and in a real sense, also your life. So that was a little overview of budgeting. Any questions? From Diane. Where can I find the budget chart that you displayed? So do you mean the one that was that online budgeting tool? I think that was the only one displayed. Yes. Okay. So that one, if you Google, I mean, I could read you the link, but I
I can put the link in the chat as well.
put it in the chat. Thank you, Catherine.
No problem.
Wonderful Catherine is going to put it in the chat. And if, and you can also always just email us. Lisa has put her email address in there. You can email us and we can send you the link. There are lots of these budgeting tools out there. You might find one you like better. This one's free, and there are lots of free ones. Look, look for the free ones. That's good budgeting advice. Look for the free budgeting tool. Any other questions?
Okay, so next we have Catherine, and she'll be discussing the savings.
So kind of relating to what Lavinia has been talking about with budgeting, and she kind of started touching on saving a bit too. So saving money can feel very stressful and can feel very overwhelming. And it especially can feel like that if you don't have a plan for it. But sometimes if you can create a savings plan, it can relieve some of that stress that's associated with it. So kind of relating to our previous discussion on goals, once you do have a savings goal, such as maybe wanting to save enough for a new appliance or something like that, you can create a savings plan that can help you achieve it. So in our next session, we're going to be talking a bit more about banking and opening up a bank account and stuff like that. And that might be helpful if maybe you have a few different savings goals and you wanted to have separate accounts for it to put a percentage of your income directly in there. But the rest of this is still going to be relevant. So if you did choose to put your savings into a banking account for your goal, you may choose to put it into an interest-bearing account. And this way your money can grow into some more money. So interest is the amount of money that's paid for the use of your money. So it's kind of like when we put our money into a bank, into a savings account, we're like lending our money to the bank. And in return, the bank pays us interest for the use of our money. So the interest is being paid as a percentage of however much we're going to put into that account. And basically what that means is that the earlier on it's possible for your own situation to start saving, the less that you're going to have to save over time because you're going to be earning that interest. So with all of that said, the biggest challenge though for saving money, of course, is coming up with the money to save. So a good first step is to think about what Lavinia was talking about, our needs versus our wants. So a need is something that we can't live without, whereas a want is something that maybe we would like to have. It makes our life more comfortable, more convenient, or more fun, but we could survive without it. But what's important to know is that everyone's needs and wants are different. So something that I can't survive without, maybe someone else could, and it just completely depends. So what's important is to try and figure out what your own needs and your wants are. And that way you can make decisions about things you can live without to be able to save your money for your goals. And a way to do that is through a trade-off. So if there's a way to satisfy one of your needs or one of your wants in maybe a less expensive way. So for example, if you like buying coffee, maybe brewing it at home or something like that. So I'm just going to share on my screen another tool that's available online for free. One moment. Can everyone see that? Okay, so this tool basically is for if maybe there's an expense that isn't essential, but that you still like to do, maybe a coffee. I like to buy a coffee every day. So maybe it's $2 and it's daily. And you can change the amount, you can change which expense, you can add multiple here, and then you just put how often you do it. And maybe there's some goal that you want to save up a little bit of money for. So maybe you think, okay, I can reduce how often I buy coffee by a quarter of the time, so 25%. So that if you look here for the weekly part, it's maybe like 2 coffees a week that you take out. And then it shows you here how much you save on a week, on a month, and then for a year. So if you did that and you took away 2 of your coffees per week, in a year, you might have $183 maybe for a savings goal that you had in mind. So you can do that with a bunch of different things. Maybe if you go to a restaurant and you do it on a weekly basis, but maybe you take off half of the time. So you do it just once every 2 weeks. You could end up saving a lot of money, and you can put all of these different expenses And then this calculator will give you total how much you could save in a year if you reduced all of these different expenses. So I'll also put the link for that in the chat. And again, it's a free tool to use. So I'm just going to put that one into our chat here. And then I'll go back to our slides. Okay, so then one thing just to bring to your attention as well is something called the Canada Learning Bond. So this is a government benefit, and it's something that can be added to a registered education savings plan, or sometimes known as an RESP. And it's for children from low-income families, and it's to help save for their education after high school. So in total, the child could end up receiving up to $2,000 if they're eligible, which is deposited into an RESP. And this includes $500 for the first year that they're eligible, and then $100 a year each year that they remain eligible until they turn 15, up to $2,000. So the child can receive this even if nothing else is contributed to the RESP. So if you set this up and there's nothing else contributed, they can still receive this benefit. There's a few different things that for eligibility. So in order to be eligible, the child has to be born on or before January 1st of 2004. They must be a resident of Canada. They must have a social insurance number, and they must be from a low-income family. And you can open up an RESP at a bank or a company that handles them. And I'll show in a minute on the Government of Canada's website, they have a list of different providers of RESPs that do handle the CLB, the Canada Learning Bond. But it's important to know and be aware that some of the companies might want you to sign a contract that requires you to make monthly payments into an RESP. So it is something to ask questions about. Some might ask you to pay for their services and put conditions such as the one that I was just talking about. So it's important to ask questions and get all the facts to make sure that you find the right provider for you. So I'm just going to go now to that government website that has all the different providers. So basically on the website, it has a list of all of the different ones here. Unfortunately, you can't do it by location, so it just does them alphabetically. But if you kind of scroll through them, you can see different ones for near you. And it has this column here, CLB, and it says whether or not that specific promoter offers the Canada Learning Bond. And then on this website itself, there's also some more information just about the Canada Learning Bond that you can find out, and it will also give you some contacts if you needed further help about it in terms of applying. So are there any questions there about saving or about the Canada Learning Bond or anything?
Next, if there's no questions, then we're on to shopping and scams, and Lavinia is going to discuss this topic.
Okay, yeah. First shopping, then scams. So smart shoppers use strategies to get the most bang for their buck. So that's one issue. The other one is shoppers have rights and responsibilities. You can read those on the graphic there on the.
You're just muted there, Lavinia.
Oh, Lavinia, you're muted.
You muted me.
Yeah, did I?
Yeah, you did. You muted everyone and you muted me. So
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm back. So I'm not sure exactly what point I was muted, but the graphic says shoppers have rights and responsibilities, right? And you knew that as a shopper, you have certain rights. They're listed there on the graphic, and you know, and you have responsibilities too. But you want to be a smart shopper, right? Get the most bang for your buck. So here's some tips. They won't all work for you, but you know, take what might work for you. So one major important strategy is have a plan. Try to avoid unplanned shopping or impulse buying. If you want to buy something, ask yourself, do you really need it? Take your time to think about it before you buy, especially the big ticket items. You know, do you really need that big screen TV? And when you shop, make a list, especially grocery shopping, make a list. Planning your shopping will help you avoid purchases that you do not need. Another tip, compare. When you take the time to plan before you shop, you can compare products to find the best deal. Do some research. In the old days, I'd say go to different stores. Nowadays, you can go on the internet and you can read customer reviews. I do that a lot before I buy something. I bring up all the reviews to see if people are happy with the product, or if there's another product out there that's just as good but costs less. Another good tip is look at the unit prices. So that's like, when you're going grocery shopping and they have the little tags with the price of the item, on the shelf, right? So spaghetti, there's the price, $2.69 or something like that. And then there's some spaghetti on sale, but it's a different size package. And is it really cheaper? Like, I can't tell. I can't do the math in my head. You don't have to. So the little white tag in the small print, if you read the small print on the little white tag, I have to bring my glasses, it'll tell you how much per, say, 100 grams. 43 cents per 100 grams as opposed to 68 cents per 100 grams. That one's actually cheaper. So look at the unit prices. Buy on sale, that's sort of self-evident. But also remember, just because something is on sale, it isn't necessarily a good buy. And also, don't buy something just because it's on sale. If you don't actually need it, don't buy it, even though it's a really good deal. Read the fine print. Again, important when you buy those big ticket items where you're putting out a lot of money. Make sure that you know all about the product or service you are buying before you pay any money or put your name, you sign any agreement. Are there hidden fees? Does the product come with a warranty? To get the warranty, do you have to mail in a form? Does the store have a refund or return policy? Ask questions. If there is any policy like that in the fine print that you don't understand, ask questions. You have a right. Salespeople should be there to help you. It's your money. Shouldn't spend it unless you believe you're getting something of value for it. Keep your receipts. Keeping your receipts can be helpful for many reasons. You should check your receipt to make sure you were not overcharged or charged for something you didn't buy. Reviewing your receipts is also a good way to keep track of your expenses. Remember, income, money coming in, expenses, money going out. Also, most stores require a receipt for a refund, return, or exchange. Try alternative shopping. Try thrift stores, flea markets. There, sometimes you can get really good quality stuff that will cost you maybe the same or less than a new lower quality item. That's true with clothes, for example. So consider thrift stores. And then there's online shopping. Before the pandemic, some people never shopped online and then started to during the pandemic and now are not going back. So there's a lot of online shopping going on. Most people do at least some online shopping. So you need to be smart about online shopping particularly. So before you hand over your money online, make sure the company is legitimate. Just because a company has a website doesn't mean they are legitimate. Look at the website. See if you can find the name of the owner and the location of the business. If you can't do this, it should be a red flag. PO boxes are not addresses, right? Only shop on secure sites. So to be certain that the page you're on is secure, secure means they're not going to steal your information, your identity, or your money. To make sure it's secure, look for the tiny padlock icon in the corner of your browser's URL bar, it'll be a little padlock. And you can also tell if the site is secure by looking for an S, the letter S, in the URL address. So while non-secure sites and pages begin with, you've seen this, HTTP:/2. Secure sites begin with HTTPS://. So look for the S in the little padlock. Use secure debit cards. If you're going to use a debit card to shop online, make sure that it has special security features to protect you, such as Interac Online. That way your payment is completed through your financial institution who transfer the funds to the online retailer using secure banking procedures. So none of your financial details, your card numbers, your login information are shared with the online retailer. You are not liable for losses resulting from circumstances beyond your control, like a fraud. Online fraud, very big thing. A good strategy regarding credit cards, if you're going to pay with credit card, is only use one credit card. Because using only one credit card only exposes you only on that credit card. So it limits the potential for fraud to that one account. So should a hacker come by your account information, you'll only have that credit card company to deal with, just the one. Print out copies of the transactions. So when you buy something online, print out copies of all the transactions and only pay via secure site. Okay, so it's just, if you have a printer, it's a really good idea to print out everything you can. Avoid using public computers for your shopping, like the computer at the library. Also avoid using the Wi-Fi in public places. So libraries, internet cafes, not good places to do your internet banking or online shopping, as your personal information is more susceptible to hackers. Avoid clicking on pop-up ads. Those annoying things that pop up when you're online on a site. Don't click on them, because it could lead to harmful programs being installed on your computer, and then it's a nightmare. Also, avoid autocomplete. That's when you start typing your name and it fills it in for you. Be careful when using software on your computer that auto-completes online, completes the forms for you, because it could give internet scammers easy access to your personal and credit card information. So those are just some suggestions for online shopping. Are there any questions? Okay, so I will move on to scams, frauds. So scams or frauds aim to steal either your money, property, or your identity. So scams can be by telephone, email, text message, not so much by mail, like snail mail these days, although it's still possible too. So here are some common frauds and scams. I'm sure most of you have encountered at least some of them. So the first one I bet we've all encountered, that's the foreign scams. And they often involve a letter or email that claims to be an investment opportunity. The Nigerian or West African businessman or prince sends you a letter. It's a well-known example, this scam. The letter appears to be from a politician or a business person or someone important like that, seeking your banking information so they can share money with you. And in fact, they will use this information to steal from you or open credit cards under your name. Telemarketing scams. So telemarketing is the sale of goods or services over the phone. And some telemarketers, they may be annoying, but they're harmless, right? They're just doing the job. But some are selling scams. So signs of telemarketing scams include claims that you have won a prize. I used to get those a lot. Won a cruise, such as other prizes, a sweepstake, a travel package, magazine subscriptions, or gym memberships. So it might be legitimate, but Probably not. So check out the company before you agree to anything. Do not share your credit card or banking information with a telemarketer. Just don't give that out over the phone. Advance fee scams. These are scams where some kind of service or benefit is offered, but you have to pay before receiving anything. In many cases, you end up paying and getting nothing in return. And this is common with guaranteed loans, debt consolidation, credit repair services. So just remember, a nonprofit credit counselor will not ask you for fees in advance of providing you with some debt management help. And we can talk more about nonprofit credit counselors in future webinars. Debit card fraud. There are many forms of debit card fraud, and they all involve stealing your money and banking information. So common scams include just stealing your card and PIN, or setting up devices to jam your card in the ATM. Skimming, which means using a device that can find out your banking information through the magnetic strip on your card. It reads that strip. Fake ATMs that collect your card and PIN information. So your bank will often reimburse you for money you've been scammed with your debit card. But some kinds of debit card fraud, your bank will not cover the money stolen. For example, they will not cover the money if they think you did not protect your PIN as you should. So make sure you keep your banking information and your PIN secret. Don't share this with anyone. Credit card fraud. It's pretty common. Stolen credit cards. That's pretty obvious. Someone steals your credit card, makes purchases. Some will use your card to steal your identity and open more cards under your name. So when you get your credit card statement every month, read it. Review your statement to make sure that all the purchases are yours. And most bank-issued credit cards will not make you pay for any unauthorized or fraudulent transactions on your credit card. So check your statement every month. The toll-free text message and international call scams. These are scams where you are charged a fee for calling or text messaging a number. Often TV ads will urge you to call or text for a product or service, but it's not always clear that there can be costly charges just for making the call. That's what they want you to do, make the call and you're charged for the call. Some phone numbers may seem like they are local, but they're in fact international. So always find out if there are charges before calling or texting. Calling card scams. Some people have calling cards. So these scams target people who often make long distance calls using calling cards. Many of these scams have large fees up front when you buy the card, or they may charge you for a certain number of minutes, but cut off your calls before you have used up your minutes, and so you've got to buy more. So if you're going to buy calling cards, buy them only from companies you know and trust. The work at home scams. We've all seen these, right? Like you're in some kind of chat, people are chatting or making comments, and then this comment comes up, I make $30,000 a month working at home. You know, we've all seen those. So some of these jobs are advertised as opportunities to make money while you work from home. But in many cases, you never get paid for your work. So common types of jobs that fall under the scam are envelope stuffing, data entry, assembling crafts, posting ads, and flyers. Make sure you research the job in the company really well before you take a job like this. Emergency scams. These are sad. Emergency scams often target seniors. Callers pretend to be a grandchild or nephew, and they state that they're in some kind of trouble, such as a car accident, and need money immediately. And the person may get a call from two people, one pretending to be the relative and the other a police officer or a lawyer. And your grandchild asks you questions during the call, getting you to volunteer personal information. And the person will be asked to wire money through some money transfer company. These scams make me sad, right? Because, some senior gets a call, they think it's their grandchild in trouble, and they don't hesitate, they send out the money. So I think these are particularly nasty scams. Dating and romance sites, also very nasty. So a dating and romance site may claim to be a dating site, but you pay for each email or message you send and receive. And the scammer will try to hook you in by sending you vague sounding emails filled with talk of love, details about them. They keep you writing back, paying money for use of the website. On legitimate dating sites, that don't do this, they're legitimate sites, but there could be scammers on those sites making claims like, oh, they have a very sick family member. And after many messages, maybe even exchange a glamorous photo or something, you will be asked directly or more subtly to send them money to help their situation. Or they may tell you about a large amount of money they need to transfer out of their country, or that they want to share with you. They will then ask for your banking details, or for money for an administrative fee or tax that they claim needs to be paid to free up that money. It's a scam. So for more scams, you can go up to the website of the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. You can just Google that, or we can send you the link. Catherine, can you link me to that page? Yeah, and so lots of frauds, and this is the one I like. So I can't. So on this page, you can browse frauds alphabetically. You could spend all day reading frauds, scams by A to Z, scams by medium, scams affecting businesses, lots of information, and you can report a fraud here. But scroll back up to the red. Yeah, there's the coronavirus. So recent scams. Of course, coronavirus is going to be a scam, right? There's going to be a coronavirus scam, of course. So this one, if you could click on it, Catherine. What happens with this one? Very recent, July 12th. They received reports of phishing text message scams tied to COVID-19 vaccines. So what happens, you get a text message claiming to be from the government of Canada. They will say that due to recent vaccination, Canadians are eligible for a vaccine relief fund. And everyone, you think, oh, I'm eligible for money, right? That just reels people in. I'm eligible for money. The message that tells you to claim your funds by clicking on a link. And you click on the link, and the goal is to steal your personal or financial information, which can be used for identity fraud. So don't click the link, don't provide any information. So if you can't find this by Googling this website, we can send you the link, just email us. Any questions? Okay.
Okay, so that's great. Thank you. Thank you to all the presenters. It's been a pleasure being with all of you today. Our next session is scheduled for Wednesday, August the 11th at 11 a.m. And we will focus on banking, financial services, credit basics, reporting, and debt management. So I will be sending out that invitation and registration information probably next week. So if you wanted to keep an eye out on that. Okay, and I hope everyone learned some great information.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.